Justin Timberlake has finally pled guilty to his DWI charges and was forced to make a public apology. But was it a fair verdict, or did he get off too easy? So it all went down just after midnight on June 18th. Timberlake was pulled over after he cruised through a stop sign and swerved out of his lane. Not exactly the smooth moves he's known for, huh? According to the criminal complaint, the arresting officer wrote that Timberlake's eyes were bloodshot, his breath smelled like he'd taken a bath in martinis, and his speech was, let's say, less than justified. Oh, and let's not forget, his balance was so off that he performed poorly on all standardized field sobriety tests. That's one way to cry yourself a river. Now, here's where things get interesting. When Timberlake was first arrested, he claimed innocence. Timberlake reportedly muttered under his breath, "This is going to ruin the tour." He pleaded not guilty to the charge of driving while intoxicated, which, mind you, carries up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. Driving while intoxicated in New York means having a BAC of 0.08 or higher. So, if you've had a bit more than a martini, like Justin said he did, you're in trouble. In August, a judge suspended Justin Timberlake's driver's license after he refused to take a breathalyzer test during the traffic stop. The judge also scolded his attorney, Edward Burke Jr., for publicly claiming that the Sag Harbor police had made very significant errors in handling the case and suggesting that the charges would likely be dropped. But fast forward, and oh how the tables turned. Timberlake showed up to court sporting black sunglasses and a double-strand pearl necklace. He was accompanied by a sizable entourage, which included his attorney, Ed Burke Jr., bodyguards, and his music manager, Johnny Wright. He changed his tune, pleading guilty as part of a deal to get the lesser charge of driving while impaired. That's a traffic violation in New York, with a BAC of 0.05 or higher. It's a step down, but still serious. So, what did Timberlake get as part of this plea? As part of the deal, JT will be doing 25 to 40 hours of community service. He'll also be filming a public service announcement on the dangers of driving while impaired. I mean, imagine the man who once told us to bring sexy back, now reminding us not to bring a martini glass to the driver's seat.
A few weeks ago, I addressed all of you, and I said that my client was not driving while intoxicated. After much discussion and a thorough review of the evidence, today the District Attorney's Office correctly agreed to not move forward with that very charge. You see, the evidence revealed that my client finished the contents of one drink in 2 hours at the American Hotel. And contrary to what was reported, he wasn't drinking other people's drinks or warned in advance not to drive. He wasn't rude, he wasn't obnoxious, he wasn't belligerent. In fact, he was polite, and he was cooperative, and he was respectful during his entire encounter with law enforcement, as they were to him.
Good morning, everyone. So I don't know how many of you were in the courtroom and heard what I had to say in the courtroom, but I'll reiterate that and say this to you. Many of you have probably been covering me for a lot of my life, and as you may know, I try to hold myself to a very high standard for myself, and this was not that. This was not that. I found myself in a position where I could have made a different decision, but I've had some time to reflect on that, and I also understand by the fact that all of you are here, that I have a platform, you have a platform, we share that platform. And so what I'd like to say to everyone watching and listening, even if you've had one drink, don't get behind the wheel of a car. There's so many alternatives. Call a friend, take an Uber. There's many travel apps. Still, take a taxi. This is a mistake that I made, but I'm hoping that whoever's watching and listening right now can learn from this mistake. I know that I certainly have. And like I said, even one drink, don't get behind the wheel of a car. I also said this in the courtroom before, but I grew up in a small town, so I can appreciate and understand the strain or unique nature that this must have been on the people of Sag Harbor. But I just want to say to everyone who's been involved, from everyone in the courtroom to everyone outside, including the police department, that I'm very grateful, and I thank them. And I guess in closing, I'd like to say we can all be more safe out there, and I'm going to do my part. I hope that everyone else does their part, and thank you very much.
Classic. Wise words from a guy who didn't follow his own advice that night. But hey, better late than never, right? Timberlake also had to cough up $500 in fines and gets his license suspended for 90 days. So, for the next 3 months, if you see Justin walking everywhere, you'll know why. Now, we've got to ask, did JT get special treatment? I mean, let's be real. Do we think a regular Joe would get away with just a PSA and a $500 fine? Mothers Against Drunk Driving and other advocates have been pretty vocal about the consequences regular folks face in similar situations. And let's just say, they're usually a bit harsher. No celebrity get-out-of-jail-free cards for the rest of us, unfortunately. But here's where it gets interesting. The video of Timberlake's arrest has not yet been released to the public. There's body cam footage out there somewhere. And from what we're hearing, it's not exactly flattering. For Timberlake to suddenly plead guilty after fighting the charges for months? You've got to wonder just how bad that footage is. How much did we not see? People have a lot of opinions about whether Timberlake got off easy or not. Some say, hey, he's paying the price, doing the community service, owning up to his mistakes. Others? Well, they're not buying it. The $500 fine, 90-day suspension, and PSA seem like a slap on the wrist compared to what everyday people could face. One thing's for sure, though. This whole situation is a reminder that even the biggest celebrities can't always escape the consequences of their actions. What do you think? Did JT get a free pass because of his fame? Or was justice served? Let us know in the comments. If you want to know more about the details of his arrest, click on the video on your screen.